All right. I am pleased to have I wanted to call you Sister Thoko because I know a Thoko at church.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm pleased. I'm
Well,
pleased.
they call me Sister Thoko at church as well.
Really? Okay. So I'm
Maybe just
pleased.
sister because I'm young.
Okay. I'm pleased to have Sister Thoko on the podcast, and thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me, Shepherd. Yeah.
Just to give background, how we met through a mutual friend,
Mhm.
acquaintance. I think let me call it acquaintance, but I think he's um, okay. I will
Victor's a good guy. I think he's a very good guy.
yes,
I can say that I've known him for a long time. His brother, he's like a brother to me.
sure,
My brother and him are co-founders of a accounting payments platform
sure.
called Mansa. And I mean, I've known Victory for a number of years now. So yeah, I'm glad that he introduced us. But that's how I know him. Like I've always been connecting him. He's always been connecting me.
He's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, he's a cool
He's
guy.
amazing. Yeah, I think when I was telling my mentor, I was telling him that I met an angel because he was so generous with linking me up with people. He was
Mm,
super generous, and I was like, yeah,
yeah,
I've never met someone like that who,
yeah,
as much as we met in a
yeah.
place, the Yoko thing,
Mm.
him just being open to connect and not only connect but to also follow up. I don't know how many people I actually connected with, and I tried
Uh,
texting back,
yeah,
and I don't know, maybe it didn't arrive or something like that, but they've not got anything back.
yeah,
But to have someone who is that one person who, when you
yeah,
connected and you actually um, get that feedback and actually try to have a
yeah.
mutual relationship from there onwards was really amazing. So we just that was just the background behind that. But with that said, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, Shepherd, thank you for that. Yeah, so I'm Thoko Miya. I am the CEO of Girl Hype, which is a digital transformation program for women. What we aim to do is to recalibrate and to empower, to increase women's participation in and through technology. We provide digital skills, programs, interventions, narratives, basically trying to change the story and statistics around the number of women in tech. But not only just that, the number of women who are coders, the number of women who are in management positions in tech companies, in senior positions, So we're basically looking at understanding the landscape, understanding the narrative, and then filling the gaps for these women to better be able to take part in and stay in tech careers long term.
You know what? I think you'll be the first one to answer this question, which I formulated after seeing your is it resume or maybe your
Yeah,
bio?
it's online
Yeah.
resume,
So
even
I
though it's not
literally
full.
sure. So what I did is I always ask there's a question that I always ask my guests at the end of the conversation,
Mm,
but I always feel like it can be improved.
yeah.
But I'll ask that question at the end though, right? But with that said, let me just put that aside. Girl hype is what you're doing now.
Yeah. So
But I just want to start all over, start from the beginning, right?
from the
And then we
beginning.
can actually, if we get time, we're gonna get into actually deep dive into girl hype. But before that, I think let's get into where did you start? Where did your inspirations come from to do girl hype?
Okay, so I'm actually a product of Girl Hype. So for me, I joined Girl Hype at 9, 10, 11 years old. By the time I was 10, I was taking part in coding classes. I built my first website using HTML. 11 years old, I actually attended a Girl Hype course where I was the only young person doing this course. I was 11 and I was doing a first year IT course at CPUT. So I've got a lot of experience and background in Girl Hype and knowledge. I've been their project manager before this from 2014 to about 2016, 18. Then I became the global partnerships manager, which is a step up from that. And only this year in 2023 have I flipped into the CEO role. And Girl Hype is a company that was founded by Thoko Miya. So as you've noticed,
Yes,
that is my family member. So Bara is my mom.
Okay.
And we run Girl Hype together. And we have now for 9-10 years. Yeah. So this is at the at the 10-year mark
10-year decade.
that we've changed roles. And she's going more into a founding role, whilst I'm going more into a leadership role.
That's a very beautiful story. It is. It's a beautiful story. The thing is, I'm just trying to process it.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to...
I know a lot of people do that.
Sure.
Because of the fact that it's a family business. But I think in South Africa, especially the perspective that I come from, is that we don't have enough family-owned businesses. We don't leave enough legacies, and the way I see it, life is so short. We literally have, on average, 60 to 75 years of this, and the first 10 we're playing. The second 10, we're learning to read and write, basically, to speak and communicate appropriately. Sure. Only from there, we're learning to apply our work. So we're looking at this period from about 40 to 50, where we're like, okay, we're implementers, we're leaders now, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Sure. 50 to 60, we're starting to slow down. 60 to 70, we're slowing down now, we're slow. And it's just about basically understanding that. And I'm like, if we want to achieve what we want to achieve at Girl Hype, it's not just going to happen in her lifetime. And it's definitely going to require my lifetime too, and moving forward from that. But I definitely want to build something that is sustainable, that we can both feed off, that we both have ability to, put our energy into. And, I'm so proud of the fact that we have done the work that we've done. I've seen us touch, if I counted, over 1 million lives, and training girls, training women, training corporates and companies to change their policies, to be aware of the fact that, they've got programs, they've got policies, they've got positions that are not representative, that they maybe don't have proper maternity policy, that they don't have proper coding policy that is inclusive of the way women code. Because it is also different. Men speak one way and women speak one way. Similarly, I always say men code one way and women code another. At the end of the day, we have to reach the same perspective. For example, I recently took up a new skill and I was learning specifically DNS administration. I was the only female, not only the only female, I was the only female across 4 courses. And then I was also the youngest person. Everybody else in the room was male, was over the age of, I'd say they were over the 50. You understand? So I'm going at my pace, doing the work. Not that I'm not capable of doing the work, but I'm doing the work at the pace that I'm capable of doing it. So you'll find situations where they're like, done. And I'm like, done, And the whole point is, if we're going to be in a company, if we're going to be in a business, right? I'm responsible for doing my work within a specific turnaround time, and so are they. But at the end of the day, I'm just as capable as them to do the work. So it's about basically creating the environments that allow for people to succeed successfully in what they're capable of doing, irrespective of their gender. Tech is the highest paying job right now. IT jobs are raking in. And you know, with the AI boom that we have going, it doesn't make sense that we still only have 23% of women in tech management jobs,
Okay.
you know, and 26% in South Africa of women in tech leadership positions. 26%, if we're looking at South Africa and we identify tech to be the highest income bracket, we surely need more women to be in that space.
Sure.
And it's just also about having females identify their position early on. And so we have a program where we bring in young girls to the coding space as well.
Speaking of earlier on, right? The thing is, the moment you mentioned your mom and this is the work that you have been doing, I kind of like my mind just romanticized everything.
Oh wow!
So actually, I have blanked out.
Yeah.
So basically, speaking of early on, when did it hit you that I need to take this serious? And also, maybe you can also marry it with when did you also see it that now I'm starting to build a family legacy?
So I've always been into it for the family legacy part.
Okay.
Right.
So you took it serious from the beginning.
No. I did. I worked seriously from the beginning. So in the beginning, I was like, this is my family legacy. So let me do that. You know, there were parts of it that were also about just being lost at the time, looking for pathways, seeing opportunities. But then also, it's very difficult to be a woman in a home where the prerogative is to empower girls and women, and you of that age, and you're ignoring the messages that you're receiving. You know, I was like constantly stimulated, aware of the fact that the people around me, my family, my people that are in the family business, everyone here is all about empowering women. And I was like, I'm that young woman that needs empowerment as well. So it's just about waking up to that as well and being like, hey,
it's almost like charity begins at home.
Yes, exactly. And now, you know, it's also about just being able to see that. So I started as a project manager, and I think around about my mid-20s, I was at the point where I just thought to myself, you know what? I need to find my path or take something seriously, you know? And I've got a very powerful mom, and she understood. She was like, look, if you need to find your own path, find your own path. But she would always come back to me and be like, hey, by the way, can you please help me to do this? Can you help me to do that? So I was never far away from her. I started my own business as a incubation program, incubation acceleration.
Okay.
So providing digital training to entrepreneurs. And we did a couple of cool things. We trained a whole lot of entrepreneurs across South Africa. I coined a 12-week program that was, you start a business in 12 weeks guaranteed, you know, from idea to profitability, which is like in those 12 weeks, you're going to take your idea to a profitable model. And I mean, 12 weeks is like a couple of months, right?
Sure, yes.
So
3 months.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you're not going to get your business going in 3 months, you better get rid of that idea, because you cannot sit on an idea for that long. If you take action on it, it should get to an actionable point. So
what did you do?
That was the whole thing that I had. So I had an incubator.
Oh, that was the, okay, sure.
So I was incubating businesses. I was getting companies, corporates to incubate businesses across South Africa and having them realize the vision that is so beautiful. Because South Africa is like this place where entrepreneurship, panda is like the attitude, you know.
Sure.
So for us, naturally, we want to be hustlers. We want to be entrepreneurs. We want to start businesses, not just because we're poor, but because we have that ambition. You know, South Africans have this sense of ambition.
I think it's self-worth as well.
Self-worth,
I think our self-worth is actually very high.
We've got such a high self-worth, self-drive, self-actualization. Sithanda, you know, South Africans love nice things.
They love life.
They love life.
Sure.
And money. Oh, these people can spend money. So I was like, okay, how about we get a couple of people to realize the vision and actually just investing in this culture,
Sure.
investing in hustler culture, investing in entrepreneurship culture.
Yeah.
You know, let's formalize it, let's standardize it, let's make it a norm, let's make it okay. You know, and so I did that for a while, and we also had like monthly meetups. We'd meet in the inner city spaces. We had an online platform when you could learn to build your business online. We had an LMS, and mind you, I also have coding experience. So throughout this time, I'm also hustling, like building apps for people, building websites for people,
For their business.
doing social media for people,
Sure,
for
sure,
their
sure.
businesses,
Sure.
right? So I'm keeping my tracks open. I'm keeping my cash flow open in this way.
I want to ask in terms of monetizing this incubator. How did it look? Is it you approaching
No, I mean, it was like I ran it basically on partnerships with people,
big companies?
big
Okay, sure,
companies,
sure.
your banks, your financial sector providers, your
Okay.
investment companies, because they're the ones that are looking at the hustlers, right?
Yes.
They're the ones that get the vision of the hustler. They're like, you hustle because you want to get rich. You get rich, you put your funds in our bank. That's a win for us.
Sure.
So the banks are just essentially looking to close. You know, they're sitting there and they open their doors wherever they are, you know, in Woodstock, in Tybalt Square, and wherever, Claremont, Cavendish, everyone's opening the bank with the idea that we're going to get new clients today. We're going to service the ones that we have. And the point of that is the bank is basically willing to throw money at anything that gets people to put their money in there. Right? So I'm like, okay, cool. If we get these entrepreneurs and they start making money and they start using your services and they start taking out loans and your fleets and they start, you know, that's basically going to be good for you. If you start telling them about your processes and they hear about your processes over the processes that are taking place at the competitor bank next door across the hallway, it makes it so much easier. But then also, it's just basically about understanding, like most people don't know the products that the bank offers. If entrepreneurs knew half of what the bank can provide them in a legal and realistic way within the frameworks that they operate,
Sure.
so many people would be so much further off. Like, for example, what I learned is that, you know, on a purchase order, you can take your order that's got your PO number and take it to the bank.
Okay.
And the bank is willing to give you all the funds to purchase that order to the value of 2 million rand.
Okay.
2 million rand. Like you're able to get an order for 2 million rand upfront, no interest, no nothing, just on the basis that you've received your purchase order. Get that order, complete your order, and you've got 31 days to pay. So by the time your client pays back, or you know, you can negotiate the time as well. I didn't know that you can negotiate the time that it's going to take to pay back. That's amazing. And I mean,
so you've made your profit.
You've made your profit in advance.
Sure.
You've made your profit in advance because the bank has paid for everything. Your service time is half. You're able to get your product out there, get it to your customer without having to spend any of your company funds or resources, right? This is the bank's money. It's not a loan. It's interest free. People don't know that you can do that.
Really sounds cool.
It sounds cool. I mean, I've looked into it. The last order that I had from a client where I was providing physical goods and services, and I was like, maybe I should just go and I mean, it worked out fine.
Oh my God, Thoko, you know, we talked about we're gonna make it short, right? And it's shocking that we're already 20 minutes in, and only if you say it's okay, if the video switches off, we can just continue having conversation. Then we want to have video. But if you still want us to have video, then we can just shut it down probably in the next 10 minutes.
Let's shut it down in the next 10 minutes because I also have to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go. It's not my car, so I need to return it. It's my mom's car.
No problem. I think it's fine then. Speaking of your mom, I wanted to ask this question. It seems like your mom has really this is an assumption. Let me rather put it this question this way. How has your relationship with your mom been since you started up until now?
We've just been like regular mom and daughter. I
Okay.
think we've got a good relationship overall. I think we both have a vision to have a good relationship overall. Like, I think also for me, the way that I'm seeing it, apartheid, the government before 1994 really broke down the idea of family structure for that generation, right? It was there before. If I look at my great grandparents and my great great grandparents, the family structure was there. My great grandparents were millionaires, they owned dairy farms, and then this apartheid program started and things sort of disintegrated. So my grandparents and my mom's generation really felt the brunt of it because they're the ones that grew up inside of it, you know. And so my grandmother was born in 1948.
Okay.
And so she basically spent her whole life, that was the year apartheid started. So she spent her entire life only knowing that kind of program,
Yeah.
until democracy. And the first thing that was broken up was the family structure. She had 7 kids and they had different fathers and lived in different parts of South Africa. And she also lived in different parts to them to follow work.
Sure.
And all of this, for me, I see impacted onto my family. And I feel like it's up to our generation to pick up the pieces for these fragments of our families.
Sure.
And make sure that we get the honor back to our families. So I've always seen it like that. My mom didn't have a good relationship with her mom, but she worked so hard to make sure that she had a good relationship with me. She gave me everything, made sure that I never seeked anything, roof over my head, food in my belly. I've never gone to bed without something to eat. I've never thought to myself, what will I eat today? I've never thought to myself, where am I going to sleep tonight? So she's always provided that. And at the same time, we're still human beings. We went through our hardships, we went through our tough times. But I think also that's the thing that I admired about her. Like any day, wherever we are, she always woke up and she always had a plan. And she always came home and there was always light when she came home. She always brought home something. And just to see that someone was that driven to me is what made me as driven towards them to say, you know what, I know that by giving back to you, I'm only giving back to myself. Yeah.
Sounds like a touchy subject for you.
How?
It's like a teary.
It's emotional, yeah, it's emotional, but like that's just how it is. Like, we haven't always been perfect, no, but I've definitely put in a lot of work into having a good relationship with my mom.
Sure.
And I know that she's done the same, and she's sacrificed a lot to have a good relationship with me too.
Thoko. Okay, for those who are listening, this usually doesn't happen. And I was actually mentioning this to you as well, that this doesn't usually happen. But this conversation is a true definition of to be continued. And I think early next year, can we please have another one? And like this, we just start the year nicely. And you shared a lot of gems, and I think the listeners will really love that. And I think people will try to reach out, and just wishing you the best from here, because I think that's part of our brand. We're trying to encourage everyone who's pushing out there to just keep on pushing, and we are that group of people that will always root for you.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll get to that question now, right, that I said I'll ask you at the end, which is a sort of a change of how I used to ask my guests, right? So the question is, what has been the recurring theme in your career, and how has it helped you to develop in your career?
Yeah, I think definitely looking back from where I am, the recurring theme has always been it starts at home. I definitely am a believer that first and foremost, it starts at home, and before home, it starts with God. So once you've got God in place and you've got your home in place and you've got your family in place, that is where you start off. But if you don't have your God in place, or higher power, let me say that, because not everyone believes in God. If you've got your higher power in place and you've got your home in place and you've got your family in place, that is the backbone of everything. We wake up with peace and basically tackle the world. There's nothing that people won't give you that you don't deserve.
Wow. On that bombshell, guys, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
And yeah, to be continued.
To be continued.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I appreciate you taking time and tuning in and be part of our community. We get to share ideas, stories, and perspectives through this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found something valuable in it. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your family and friends. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Until then, take care. This is Thoko Podcast signing out. See you next time.